Hello, welcome back to Cracking the Cryptic, where today we're going to look at an extraordinary puzzle that's been sent in for us by Laura Solar. We've done one of her puzzles before, and she's come up with something that looks incredible. We're going to look at that in a moment. You can see here, I'm really proud of this. Simon Singh has tweeted about our sandwich Sudoku game. Simon Singh, the author of one of my favourite non-fiction books, which is Fermat's Last Theorem. If you've never read it, you should read it. It's absolutely brilliant. Yeah, it's one of my favourite authors about maths in puzzles. And he seems to like our game. It's quite incredible. Now, where is this puzzle? Here it is. So this is today's puzzle. Now, I'm going to have to explain to you some of the rules of this puzzle, as Laura has written them down. This is a hybrid of a killer Sudoku and a skyscraper. So you can see that in the middle of the grid, it's like a normal Sudoku grid. And normal Sudoku rules apply within that 9x9 area. Areas outside the grid, any cells outside the grid that are coloured, obey skyscraper rules. So that means if you don't know what skyscraper's rules are, you want a refresher, I'll put a link, should appear in the video now, to a video we did the other day. But if, for example, this square was a 3, that would mean that this cell here could only see 3 buildings, and that's imagining that all of the numbers from 1 to 9 are buildings represented by different heights. So a 1 would be the smallest building, and a 9 would be the largest building. So if this was a 3, a valid way of looking at this might be 1, 8 and a 9 there, because this 3 now can only see 3 buildings. It sees the smallest building, then the second highest building, and then the tallest building, and anything in between it wouldn't be able to see this, because the 8 building would get in the way of this 6 building. So we're going to have to try and use that rule. And the other rule going on is, obviously these are killer cages, killer Sudoku cages, and it's important to note, I guess, that within, say, this 27 cage you cannot have a repeated digit. So we're going to have to probably use that as well. Now, if you want to try the puzzle, click on the link under the video. That'll take you to our software. You'll see exactly what I'm seeing, and you can have a go. And without further ado, I am going to have a go. So, alright, 30 cage in 4 cells. With a 9 here, the other cells can only be 6, 7 and 8. So 6, 7, 8 and 9 add up to 30. This can't be an 8 because of the 8 here. So this square, which is one of the squares outside of the Sudoku grid, so this has to obey the skyscraper rule because it's coloured. With the 9 here, the maximum this square could be would be 3, and the minimum it could be would be 2. So this is a 2 or a 3. But this square could still be quite, well, I think it could still be a 5. This is 5, 6, 7 or 8, so it's not brilliant. 15 cage here in 5 cells, that can only be 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. And neither of these clues can be 1s, because if they are 1s, that would imply the next cell, the first cell they see, would have to be a 9. So we can delete that, and this square in fact can't be a 5, because the 9 in this row is appearing in position 3. So the maximum this square could be would be a 3. This could still be a 2, because it could be 2, 5, any number you want, and then 9, that would still work. Right, okay. Oh, look, we've got another 15 cage there, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 again. "13 cage already has a 7 in it, so these 3 cells have to add to 6, so they must be 1, 2 and 3, and there's a 1 here, so this is a 1, this is not a 1, So 1 in one of these 2 cells. Therefore, there's a 1 in one of those 3 cells. Now, this is a 21 cage in 6 cells. Now, those of you who are good at Kukuru will know that's only possible in one way. It's got to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So the rest of this has to be 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now the 7 is interesting, because the 7 is ruled out of those 3 squares in this 3 by 3 block. So the 7 is in one of these 2 positions, which means it's down here somewhere, but it can't be here. We can't put a 7 in a 9 cage, because both of these squares would be a 1. So the 7 is in these 2 positions. Now hang on. This 22 cage, again we can use Kukuru logic here. How do you make 22 in 6 cells? Well, they have to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. So this, we see a 7 already in this 25 cage, so this is not a 7. So there is a 7 in one of these 4 positions, which means this 15 cage doesn't contain a 7. Therefore, that must be 6 and 9. Now this square, which is a skyscraper square, must be a 1 or a 2. It could still be a 2 if this is 6, then 9. If this is the 9, obviously this will be a 1. 6, 9 here. This another 15 cage. Let's put 2, 3, 4, and 5 in again. Get rid of the 1s. No. Oh yeah, okay. Yes, now where does an 8 go in this 3 by 3 block? Well, it can't go in any of these squares because that would repeat the 8 in the cage. It can't go in these squares because this 8 sees these 2 squares. So it goes in the 14 cage, which means this is 6 and 8. Now this 28 cage in 4 cells, I think that has to have an 8 in it. Because 9, 6, 7 and 5, yeah, that's too small. So there is an 8 in this 28 cage, so it's going to be in one of those 2 squares. It can't be in these 2 squares, obviously. We've got 1, 2 and 3 here, so this can't be a 1, 2 or a 3. This can't be a 2, because this square will be 4 or 5, so, and the 9 still to come, so the minimum total for this row is 3. Can't be a 2. And I don't think this can be a 2, because the 6 and the 8 is always going to be greater than the contents of this square, so this can't be a 2 either. So the 2 is in one of these 2 squares. And in fact, we've got 3, 4, 5 triple here, so these squares are 1 and 2 exactly. Can't be a 3 in the 28 cage, because then it would break. It couldn't get high enough, so there's a 3 in the 31 cage. Now, where can we put a 9 in this 3 by 3 block? Yeah, yes. Now, let's have a look. Can the 9, really the question is, can the 9 go in the 13 cage? I don't think it can. Because if I put a 9 here, the implication would be this would have to be a 1 by the skyscraper rule, and this would be a 3, which breaks. We've already got a 3 in the block. If the 9 is here, these 2 squares have to be 1 and 3, and again that breaks. So the 9 is in those 2 squares. And by simple Sudoku, the 8 is also in those 2. So we've got an 8-9 pair in the 20 cage, which means we have a 1-2 pair in the skyscraper cages. And, no, we can't resolve that, because we don't yet know enough. Obviously the 9 could be here, that would just force this to be a 1, but if this was an 8, this could equally be a 2, so that's not going to be helpful. So these two squares are some combination of 4, 5 or 6. Well, but they can't be 4 and 5 because then that would put another 4 in the same cage. So this does include a 6. So 6 plus 4 would put a 3 here, 6 plus 5 would put a 2 here. Right, and this is resolvable because if we put a 2 in here, this 2 would see something here which is less than 7. So 1, 2, at least 3 buildings. So this is not 2, this is 3. Which means this must not include a 5, which means this doesn't include, this is the 5 then. These are not 5. Could still be 8 then 9. So, and this 3, well, yeah, okay. Nine. I'm just wondering about where I can put 9s. Nines. 8, 9 here. So this square, oh no, this square can't be a 9 because we've got a 9's over here, look. Ah, so the 9 is in one of those two squares in this block. So it's not in the 31 cage. So, because it can't be, because of this 6, 9 and this 9 here, there is no 9 in the 31 cage. So, okay. So where is it possible the 31 cage doesn't contain a 6? And in fact, I've just seen we've got 6, 8 here, so that's in fact is a 6. That's a 4. Does that help? I'm not sure. Let me just think about though. That obviously, none of these squares can be a 6 because of the 6 already in the block. Is it possible one of these two squares is not a 6? Because there's no 9, we'd have 8, 7, 5, 4, 3, 2. No, that's not enough. So there is a 6 in the 31 cage, and it must therefore go here. It's the only place it can go into. That means that's a 7. Gives us a 6, 8 pair here. This is a 7 now by simple Sudoku rules, interacting this 7 and this 7 on the block. Now, where does a 7 go in the central 3x3? It can't go in either of these two squares because of the 7 here. So it must be in there. So this is 7, which means there's a 4 in here in order to make the 28 cage work. So we've got 7, 8 and 9 already locked into this block. 7, 8 and 9 obviously add to 24, add 4 more, we get the number we need. So, therefore, what can we do with that? So these numbers now are 3, 5 and 7, which means this is an 8, and this is the 7. These are not 7 down here. It's a brilliant puzzle, this. I have to say, I love killer Sudoku generally, but to combine it with the skyscraper idea is just gorgeous. So we should be able to work out the value of this square now, obviously, because we've got 8, 7 and 6 is 21. 29, this is a 2. There's no 2 in these two squares, therefore, or those two squares. Remember, this could still be a 2 though, because this isn't part of the Sudoku. That would be easy to mess up. This 2 sees that square. So this is a 1 and this is a 2. This is not a 3. And this is not a 7. Okay. So there's a 1 in one of those two positions. Again, I feel I'm being slow here. Right, these 3 squares must be 1, 2 and 4 to complete the row. And 1, 2 and 4, this can't be 1. So there's a 1 in one of these 2 squares. Does that matter? Maybe. So, so these 2 squares have got to add up to 7. Sorry, not 7. What am I talking about? 11. These 3 squares add up to 7. These 2 add up to 11. Can't be 2, 9. Can't be 4, 7. Can't be 3, 8 because the 8's there. So these must be 5 and 6, which means this is an 8. This is a 6. Can we go further than that? 6. No 5 in either of those squares. Now that's nice, because look, we've now got 2, 3 and 4 triple in this block. So this is not 2, 3 or 4. This is 5 or 7. Can we... That's not a 5 then. And it's not a 3 because of this 3 over here. 7. Now we have 8s in these 2 places, so that's going to have to be an 8. And that's lovely because that means this must be a 2 by the skyscraper rules, because once you get an 8 in the second position, or the first position of the Sudoku, that forces this to be a 2. So these 2 squares have got to add up to 10. Can we do anything with that? I'm not sure. We can fix this square though. We need a 1 in this block, don't we? And that means this is a 2. Whoa, and that's a 7? Really? Well, actually it could be. Yeah, it really could be. This 1 means this is a 2 and this is a 1. Where do we put a 9 in this row? Well, that's going to have to be there, in position 7. So we know that this must be strictly increasing. Every number must be a skyscraper that this square can see. So this can't be a 4, this can't be a 2, this must be a 5, this must be a 6, this is not a 6, this is not a 5. 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. Okay. So now, so we have a look along here. What do we need? Is it 2, 3 and 9 into these 3 squares? I think it is, which means there's no 2 up here, which means this is the 2, this is a 3, this is a 4, this must be a 2, 2, 2. Still don't know whether the 2's in either of those 2 squares. 2, 3, 9. Well, if this is a 9, the 32 cage breaks, because if we put a 2 and a 3 in here, these 3 squares cannot be big enough. So there's definitely a 9 in one of those 2. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. I need to delete the 9 from here. So if this is 9 and 2, this would have to be 6 and 8, and that would have to be this way round. If this is 9 and 3, this would have to be 5 and 8. So the 8 is always here. And this is a 5 or a 6. And we have a 5 here already. So that's a 6, which means this is in fact 2 9 pair, which means this is a 3, I guess. 6. Ah, now there's no more 6s therefore in this block. So there is a 6 in the skyscraper at the bottom. Well, the 6 can't be here therefore, because that 1, 2, 3, 4 is the maximum in this column. So this is not a 6, and this must be a 6. Is that right, or have I made a mistake? No, this 6 is still possible, but this can't be a 9. So now these two squares do this, and we get 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, this does work. This is a 9 at the top now. Oh, it's a 9 in the 24 cage. That's surprising. And the 9 is in one of those two positions. Why did I say that's surprising? Because once I deduct 9 or 24, take 9 away from 24, I get 15. So the other cells are going to have to be 2, 3, 4, and 5. And given there's a 9 in one of these two positions, this square cannot be 4 or 5 or 3, can it? In fact, it can't be 3 because this can't be a 9. So this is a 2. This is very cool. That is very cool. So none of those are 2. 1, 2, 3. The maximum this could be would be 4. It could still be 3. Okay. Now let's come back to this 6 because I need this to increase. So this can't be a 5. So it's going to have to be something like 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. But that all looks quite plausible, doesn't it? I feel like I'm being slow as usual. 2, 3, 4, 5. We've done this block. Let's have a look at these cells then. So in this row, I still need a 4 and a 9. Oh, that's going to be useful. Yeah, that's going to be useful. I'll show you why. If this is a 4, this will have to be a 6. And you can see that because if this is a 4, this will be a 9, this can't possibly be a 6. The skyscraper number would be a maximum of 4 in that instance. So this is a 9, which makes this a 1, and this is a 4. And that gives us a 4 and a 1 in those two squares. That eliminates 4 from these squares. Can't be a 2 here. Can't be a 4 here. I don't know how important it is to keep track of some of these smaller options. Now these two squares have got to sum up to 14. So is there any restriction on that? Well, yes, this has got to be a 9. I haven't put a 9 into this 3 by 3 yet, so that's 9 and 5, which means this is 5 and 7. This can't be... that resolves the 9 and the 8 on the right-hand side. This can't be a 5 now. So we've got 3, 4, and 6 to place. So this is 4 or 6. This is 3, 4, or 6. But there's no skyscraper rules here to rule anything out. Let's put in the 9 and the 6 at the top, though. Yeah, we can get the value of this cell. We've got 25 plus 10 is 35 plus 7 is 42. This has to be a 3. That looks like it's working, doesn't it? So that gives us... we've got a 4 here as well, which I missed. Sorry about that. So actually we can resolve quite a lot of this. In fact, all of it. So this square now we can check that we're on the right track. So it's forced to be a 4 by the cage, 1, 2, 3, 4 by the skyscraper. So that looks like it's working. Now, ditto with the 9 cage here. Look, we're going to be able to work out what the value of this cell is. 1, 2, 3, 4. This has to be a 4, therefore this must be a 2. Now the 9 is here, but I don't yet know whether the 8 is... in fact... this is an 8, in fact, by Sudoku, so I did know that. So that's an 8, that's a 7. That gives me 15 here, which means these two squares have to sum up to 10 to make the 25 cage work. That only works if we do it that way round. There's a few points where I've noticed I could have got things a bit sharper, a bit more quickly, but it's not always easy live solving these puzzles, especially when they're new variations. I've enjoyed this though, it's been really clever. So 3, 5, 3, 5 here, therefore this is a 4. This is not a 4, therefore. By Sudoku this must be 5, which means this is 3. So we can remove 3 and 5 from these two squares, which gives us a 1 and a 2. So this square, well, we need a 1 in the 16 cage, so this should be a 6 to make the 16 cage work. Now let's count up. So if this was a 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that would work. So this that's in fact that 6 is what's resolving the order of this 1 and this 2. 1. This can't be a 2 now. So the 2 is in one of these positions. And in fact, look at this square. Because of the 9 and this being a 1, this must be 2 by skyscraper logic. Which means this is not 2. These are 3 and 5, so this is in fact 4. And we know the 9 is on the right hand side here. So we can't quite tell, I don't think, which way around that goes. Oh, this is interesting. Look at that. There's a 6, 8 pair. So normally this arrangement, this 2 by 2 arrangement here would be broken. But because we've got the skyscraper logic here, it's going to fix it. That's 6 and 8, 14. This is a 3. Therefore, this must be a 6. That's beautiful, isn't it? 8 and 6 unwinding like that. 3, 5 here. So 2, 4 and 7 into these squares. This is a 2. 4 and 7 into those two positions. And we must be nearly done now. Yeah, this 1 and this 2 are resolved. 1, 2, 3, 4. This should be a 4. Now that makes this a 3. Let's check it. 1, 2, 3. That's right. Yeah. Just checking along some of these other rows. This 5 means this is a 3. Look. 3, 5. That means none of those can be a 3. And none of these can be a 5 either. We get a 4, 9 pair here, which forces this to be a 1, this to be a 3, this to be a 5. Let's check it. 1, 2, 3. That's working again. 4, 9. This should be a 7. 4. Let's do. Now you can see we're now going to be able to resolve all 3 of these numbers, and they're going to act as a good check as to whether or not I've made a mistake. Let's resolve the 9 and the 4 over here, and we'll do that last. So 3 and 7 into these squares. So 7 and 3. This has to be a 2 because of skyscraper logic. Therefore, this should be a 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Brilliant. 1, 2, 3 here, I'm hoping. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 here. And we'll do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here. So is the total of 5, 6, 3, 2, 4 and 7, 27? Let's quickly check. 18. Yes, it is. So I think that's the solution. What a brilliant, brilliant puzzle. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. And we'll be back soon with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.